Hello, sixth graders. Welcome to sixth grade math, box and whisker plots lesson. Pause while you write the lesson title in your math notebook. Pause again while you write today's lesson objective in your math notebook. Today's objective is, I can represent a data set along a number line using a box and whisker plot by completing practice problems with 100% accuracy in multiple attempts. Today's standards are interpret numerical data by creating a histogram, box plot, and/or dot plot. Summarize numerical data sets in relation to their context by finding measures of center, variability, and overall patterns. Let's take a look at the key idea. The box and whisker plot. It represents a data set along a number line by using the least value, the greatest value, and the quartiles of the data. A box and whisker plot shows the variability of a data set. So those numbers that we just talked about, the least value, the first quartile, the third quartile, the median, and the greatest value, those are called the 5-number summary. And that's very important for you to know, and you know how to find all of those from our last unit. So when you're making the box and whisker plot, you find the median and you plot that just above the number line. So the plot doesn't go on the number line, it goes right above the number line. And then you plot your third quartile, which is going to be to the right of your median, and your first quartile, which is going to be somewhere to the left of your median. Your greatest value is to the right of your third quartile, and your least value is to the left of your fourth quartile. And then you're going to draw a box that goes around your first and your third quartile. And you draw a line through your median just to help people notice it a little bit better. And then you draw a whisker from the box to the greatest value and a whisker from the box to the least value. And that is your box and whisker plot. And it separates your data into 25% below the first quartile and 50% in the box and 25% in your upper quartile. So that, my friends, is a box and whisker plot. Now we're going to take a look at example 1, which is making a box and whisker plot. Make a box and whisker plot for the ages in years of the spider monkeys at a zoo. And you'll notice that the data is all out of order. We have 15, 20, 14, 38. So our first step is to order that data. We have to put all of the numbers in order. And then we find the median and the quartiles. There is no shortcut for putting it in order. So first you find the median, which is 30, and then you find the first quartile, which is 23, and the third quartile, which is 34, and the least value, which is 14, and the greatest value, which is 38. So this is known as your 5-number summary: least value, greatest value, first quartile, third quartile, and median. You draw a number line that includes the least and the greatest values, and you graph your points above the number line that represent the 5-number summary. So that's step 2. So when you're doing this, you may not skip numbers on your number line. Otherwise, your box and whisker plot is not correct and it doesn't represent the data correctly. So even if there are missed numbers or skipped numbers in your data, so for example, this goes from 27 to 30, you'll see that we are still counting by 2s on the number line. So they don't skip 28 just because there's no 28. So it's fine to use a different scale and to count by 2s, but you can't just leave out numbers just because they aren't there. So be careful with that. So you graph the median in the center and the first quartile and the third quartile and the greatest value. I'm just going to put a G for greatest and the least value, an L for least. And you draw a box from the first to the third, and you draw a line through the median, and be sure your dot shows, and that's your box. And then you draw the whiskers from the box out to the ends of the data. So here's what this represents. From the least to the first edge of the box, that is the least or the lowest 25% of the data. It's really hard to write that. And inside the box is your middle half. So it's your middle 50% of the data. And this last part is your greatest 25% of the data. It's your highest 25% of the data. So you can see just from looking at this graph that most of our data is toward the right-hand side or toward the higher end of our graph. So here's just an extra little study tip that shows you exactly what I was showing you on the last slide. A quarter of the data are in each whisker and half of the data are in the center in the box. So when you're asked about the middle half of the data, you're looking at the data that's in the box. So let's look at example 2. We're analyzing the box and whisker plot. The box and whisker plot shows the body mass index, BMI, of a 6th grade class. And we're looking at just 2A for right now. And the question is, what fraction of the students have a body mass index of at least 22? So that means greater than or equal to 22. So the right whisker represents students who have a BMI of at least 22. So we're looking at from here to here. So if you remember back to that last slide, it told us that this is 1/4 or 25%, but they want this in a fraction, 1/4 of the graph. So the right whisker represents students who have a BMI of at least 22, so about 1/4 of the students have that BMI. So when you're looking to write your steps in, your step is to find 22 and see what fraction it is of the box and whisker plot. Example 2B, we are analyzing a box and whisker plot. This is the same plot that we had from example 2A. And our question is, are the data more spread out below the first quartile or above the third quartile? So all we have to do is look at our plot and remember where our quartiles are. So remember that this is the first quartile right here. Undo that. Get my pencil working. So this is the first quartile, and this is the third quartile. So the question asks, where are they more spread out? Well, you can see they're more crunched up here and more spread out here. So the right whisker is longer than the left whisker, so the data are more spread out above the third quartile than below the first quartile. Looking at example 2C, it's the same box and whisker plot as we had before, and we are asked to find and interpret the interquartile range, the IQR, of our data. And we remember that the IQR equals the third quartile minus the first quartile. And so we can just look at our plot here to find the third quartile minus the first quartile. 22 minus 19 equals 3. So this is the find it part. We calculated it. And the interpret it part is where we write it in a sentence like this. So the middle half of the student's BMIs varies by no more than 3. Now we have another set of key ideas that just show you how to determine the shape of a distribution when you're looking at a box and whisker plot. So it's not that different from what you've done in the past. If the left whisker is longer than the right whisker, then it is skewed to the left. So just think left whisker, skewed left. Most data is on the right, so same thing as the tails. So think of whiskers and tails. We've got all sorts of little kitty body parts here. And then if it's symmetric, if that median is pretty much right down the middle and the whiskers are about the same length, then the median is in the middle of the box. And if it's skewed right, that means the right whisker is longer than the left whisker. So there you have how to determine the shape of your distribution when you're looking at a box and whisker plot. We're going to move on to example 3A. This is double box and whisker plots, and you're going to see how you can show two box and whisker plots on one number line, and that helps you compare them. So it shows the double box and whisker plot represents the prices of snowboards at two stores. So the blue one is store A, the red one is store B. Our job is to identify the shape of each distribution. So really all we have to do is look at the shape of each one. So for store A, we can see that our whiskers are essentially the same length. So that means it is symmetric. For store B, we have a right whisker that is much longer than the left whisker, which means that it is skewed right. So that's how you tell, and you can show the two different distributions on one number line. Now we're going to compare those two, and it asks us which store's prices are more spread out, and explain. So both boxes appear to be the same length, so that means that the middle portion of the data is about the same for both stores. So in the book's words, it says the IQR of each data set is equal. However, the range of the prices in store B is greater than the range of the prices in store A. So you can see that in store B, the prices range from $650 all the way down to $250. But in store A, they go from $150 up to $450. So the prices in store B are more spread out. Remember, to complete this lesson, you need to finish your notes in your ISN, complete your Google form questions, and review the lesson if you need to. Complete your Big Ideas math assignment in your Math Spiral notebook and submit that assignment when it is 100% correct and not before. Be sure you track your progress on your playlist.